We're not doing things how we usually do them today. I have a lot to say about the interview that made the world sit down, and that in and unto itself is a thing, because if you are an established passionate, you know that we do not discuss pop culture. But suggestion after suggestion, I see thumbnails saying, here's what you missed, and this is the one thing nobody's talking about. But they keep overlooking one person that got called to the carpet in this interview, and that's probably the most important person out of everyone that was addressed. We're going to talk about it today. Passionate. Let me tell you something. So what is this Passion PSA podcast? Who am I? Well, they call me Passion, short for passion, no last necessary. Why is there no last name necessary? Because the first name says it all. I am passion and all that embodies. What do I do here? I give you the life coaching that you know you need, but don't enroll yourself in. When did I start? Actually, 2017. I'd leave a PSA on my Instagram regarding something I'd observed, and now we've evolved to this. Why do I do it? Why not? If even one person is able to take away one thing that changes their life, someone else's life, or changes the world for the better, then I've done what I was charged to do. So come on in, sit and listen for a while. There's something here for everyone at the Passion PSA podcast. Greetings and salutations, my beloved passionates, newcomers, visitors, and guests. Welcome to season 6 of the Passion PSA podcast, where I, Passion No Last Necessary, your Get You Right Guru, issue a weekly public service announcement about whatever I have observed or was on my mind. First and foremost, happy 2024. Happy Catchuary. If you're new here, we start every episode with affirmations as our first order of business so that we can intentionally raise the vibration and start on one accord. We're not skipping that today, but we are taking today's affirmations from the very interview that we're going to dissect. If you missed them there, take some time to write them down now. In the meantime, let's get on the same frequency. If you're ready, go ahead, take a deep breath. You are always welcome to repeat after me or to use this time to state your own affirmations. There is nothing I can't do. I am a vessel. I am equipped to carry out my gifts. I utilize my gifts effectively. I'm really the product. I am always in my right mind. I am always a physical specimen. I am bigger than the minds or wayward attempts of those who underestimate me. I am relentless. I stand on my standard. I am one of the richest people that ever lived. All my needs are met. Whatever I want is right around me, and whatever I don't have is only because I don't have it. All I have to do is want it, and it belongs to me. I know how blessed I am. If I look at it, I got it. I live every day like it's my last and make the most of every opportunity. I am well. It is well. All is well. Ashe, ashe, ashe. Most of those are direct quotes and a handful are minimally paraphrased. Katt Williams, passionates. The man came through and delivered more than Amazon, UPS, FedEx, DHL, and the United States Postal Service combined, and broke the internet in the process. Now, as of January 16th, the interview officially surpassed 50 million views. 50 million for the Club Shay Shay interview with Shannon Sharp. The Willie D Live interview was over 6 million 7 days after airing? And the numbers on each are steadily climbing. The Club Shay Shay interview single-handedly restored the world's attention span and had us all wrapped for longer than it took the Titanic to sink. And YouTubers and grammars and TikTokers, they either weighed in with their own opinion or reposted someone else's opinion. The super sleuths that can't find their keys on a table, they found supporting and corroborating evidence to confirm Katt's claims. Everybody's keeping track of whose name got called and who got aired out and who was exposed and whose spot got blown up, who didn't respond, who did respond, how they responded, whether the response adequately refuted what Katt said. Now, I'm not going to sit here and fake moves like I didn't watch this interview 4 times myself, because I did, with intention. The first watch was just because it came up in my suggestions, because up until then, I didn't know Shannon Sharpe had a podcast. The second watch was to go grab quotes, because Katt definitely dropped some one-liners and made statements that will live in infamy and perpetuity. And if you stay around until the end, you'll see my favorites right before the credit roll. The third watch was to create the outline for this episode. And the fourth watch was to make sure I didn't miss anything in the third watch. Now, Passionates, you know I don't discuss pop culture unless there's a takeaway from it, aside from the mix and the mess. That's probably the first quote that we can cite from this interview, aside from the affirmations. I'm not doing nothing for clout. I don't even believe in clout. End quote. I don't ride coattails or try to jump on something trending just for views. And I usually don't even say the names of the people that we're talking about to keep the attention off the individual and focused on what we should have learned from them. But Katt was talking real super extra right, and I had to speak on it, because for as many names as were called, as many shots as were fired, as many fingers as were pointed, and as many of you as enjoyed the spilling of this tea, I'm just wondering how many of you got burned when the tea spilled in your lap. We heard the names that got called, and since we didn't hear our own names, a whole lot of folks thought Katt wasn't talking to and about them. And you thought wrong. First of all, whoever edited this episode, they warned us all when they used the quote, "This is the reckoning 2024" as the intro. And that's what Katt came to do and did. He settled the score. And with more people than we probably thought he would. But more than score settling, Katt made reference to the presence of, the importance of, the power of, and the necessity of the truth. Repeatedly. Everybody heard it. People's pupils dilated with excitement at the truth being told. But the truth isn't just essential when somebody else is getting aired out. Katt showed gratitude to Shannon, stating, "You've made this a safe place for the truth to be told." Now, put a bookmark in this quote, because it's going to come up in next week's episode as well, okay? After he went in for the next 8 minutes, he said, "The truth don't need motivation. This is the age of truth, and the truth doesn't need to be scared of the fact that people tell lies. All of the big dick deviants is all catching hell in 2024. It's up for all of them. All lies will be exposed, and anyone who takes that the wrong way, know why they take it the wrong way. The truth is the light. The truth is really the commodity." When Shannon was expressing concern about his show being on the cancel list because of the way Katt came in like a wrecking ball and steady knocked over everything, he said, "Once I establish this as a place of truth, watch. God's people ain't that few." He said all people that love the truth gotta be happy if the truth coming out and lies is getting exposed. That's just what time it is, 2024, folks. Now, I'm gonna let you sit with the numbers on how many times he specifically brought up the truth. That aside, full stop, and let's run it back. All people that love the truth. A lot of y'all claim to love the truth when it's being told about someone else. How many of y'all that love the truth are content to be in this number? How many of y'all know that you're included in that group of big dick deviants? Everyone who has engaged in something perverse or predatory and reframed the story so they didn't look as problematic as they are, male or female. Homie said it's up for all y'all. Are you prepared for that? Everybody trying to enter new relationships by omitting that your past relationships were unsuccessful, largely because of your infidelity and lack of integrity. Katt didn't say this was the year of the truth for a handful of comedians. We're in the age of Aquarius, beloveds. That's what Katt was referring to when he said we're in the age of truth. You know that this age is supposed to be 2,160 years, yes? All the lies we've been told, all the trickery is going to be exposed over the next 2 millennia, and we are at the beginning. Furthermore, all and some are not synonymous. All means that no one is exempt and no lie is exempt. What truth will be told about you? Is it something light? Or is it something that could cause you to lose your mind if anyone ever found out? You ready to reveal the truth? Or you want to try your luck, take your chances, and see if you're able to continue hiding whatever in the shadows? Are you sure you were listening when Katt did this interview? Did you know he was talking to you? Did you get convicted when Katt was talking about his father? When asked about leaving home, notice how careful he was about how he framed the whole segment, even in the Willie D interview. And we're not going to dissect that interview today because that really deserves its own moment. But even then, when asked about his upbringing, he said, I don't want to shame the family. And in this interview, despite the fact that the last interaction he had with his father before leaving home was what sounded to be a violent physical altercation. Remember, he said he was getting beat to death. In neither interview did he measure the entirety of his father's character by that single engagement. That's a passion point. When asked how similar he was to his father, he simply said, no, he's a great man. Where are you in your forgiveness journey? Some of us still mad at somebody who did something that in the grand scheme of our current lives means absolutely nothing. I'm still mad at that little funny face looking girl that stole my crayons on my birthday in the 3rd grade. So I'm not saying I'm better than anyone here. I'm asking you if you were really paying attention to what he was saying, especially if you watched this interview more than once. Because if yes, how could you not have been convicted? The kind of emotional maturity that is present when he's discussing the why behind this last engagement, albeit vaguely. A lot of us out here are adult children and our feelings are still hurt. And since there's nothing that can be done to unhurt them, we are bitter and ugly when we talk about some of the actions of our parents. Some of us out here talk crazy about our parents. Meanwhile, we got kids looking at us like, you ain't no rock star either, so I'm really not sure how you're judging their parenting. And how he handled this actually ties into what he said later on in the interview about comics saying things that can be taken offensively. There are things that you can say that don't have to hurt people. And you would know that if you knew how to construct the English language for a living. He wasn't just talking to or about Ricky Passionate, and what he says applies even to people that have hurt us. They may have done a super terrible thing, but that doesn't mean that we have to defile or denigrate them anytime their name comes up, even if we think they deserve it. Because while they may not deserve our respect, us not speaking unfavorably of them says a lot more about us than it does about the other person. Also, because there were 2 big points being made. Knowing how to construct the English language, or any language for that matter, is a severely underutilized skill. You don't have to use big words or less commonly used words to know what they mean. When you do know what they mean, you are less prone to be defensive because you've assumed someone's insulting you because you don't know what they're saying. And conversely, you know someone has come for your entire life talking about your gnarled fingers. In at least 50% of our conversations, Passionists, we've discussed the importance of communication. Passion point. Knowing what you're trying to communicate and ensuring the other person is receiving it as intended happens by default when you know how to construct the language as the speaker and as the listener. So you're going to start working on your vocabulary? You're going to start being a little more intentional about your word choices and how you organize your sentences? Are you going to pause more before responding? He role modeled that throughout the entire interview. Is it sinking in yet that Katt was talking more to and about you than any of these comedians? So he leaves home, goes to a state where he knows no one. He's living in a park and stealing, fast talking, and negotiating to survive. And of that, he says, I didn't experience anything once I left home that I hadn't signed up for. If anything, it saved my life. Passion point. Consequences are part of the decision. When you decide to take an action, whatever consequences and unforeseen circumstances that come along, after said action is taken, all of that is what you signed up for. Because all of that was included in the package of the decision. And while you might not be able to see how it's serving your highest good in the moment, it's all part of it. Some of it will serve you, or you'll be able to see the value of it later on, and some of it may just save your life. Some of it will serve you at an appointed time, like his one comedy appearance in Florida that he kept in mind when he got in a competition in Oklahoma. Oklahoma, the next passion point. Don't take any part of your experience for granted. His Oklahoma living experience gave him fodder to develop two separate characters in his acting career. He was in Oklahoma somewhere between ages 14 and 18. So that's somewhere between 85 and 89. And Friday After Next came out in 2002. So he was about 31 or 32. We first met a pimp named Slickback in 2005. So now we're talking about craft work and character development. Passion point. If you really love something and want to pursue it, study it. Pay your dues and do your due diligence. Hone your craft. Start with a subset of the larger group and expand from there, and be willing to take a chance on and invest in yourself. Katt said, how can I be looking for you to put me on if I wouldn't? And if I can't show you what you missed out on, why would you believe me? People are way more likely to give you the break or even consider helping you if they see you'll do it for yourself and see that it's worth their investment. He loved what comedians did, so he studied all the comedy masters. He said, as you begin to get better, you begin to be able to speak to your entire fan base. That's a quote. A lot of people limit themselves to the spaces where they don't have to do real work. The mentality is, this who I am, rock with what I'm doing and how I'm doing it, or get on. Instead of, how can I appeal to or be able to reach different audiences who like different things? When you limit yourself because you're trying to be yourself, you can't be mad when you can only get but so far, unless your resistance is rooted in being yourself, because changing involves unrighteousness or behavior untoward or unbecoming that you don't subscribe to. There's nothing wrong with having range and being able to code switch. Being able to speak to a room full of your peers is conversation. Being able to speak and be listened to by a room or stadium full of people that are volunteering their attention, that, friend, is captivation. So on the subject of studying, Katt said that he's been part of several religious groups because you can't learn about a religion just reading books about it. Now, it's somebody that's rocking from side to side right now, talking about the Bible is all I need to know. That's the true word of the Lord. And that's fine if you're not condemning someone else for finding the path to God that resonated with them. Thou shalt not judge. If you're not assuming who somebody else worships because of a name you've heard associated with that faith or practice, when that is 100% false. Thou shalt not bear false witness. Because you believe, based on no research and no direct experience, that this person is somehow connected to or a practitioner of wickedness, because they don't believe exactly as you believe or speak in a way that you believe would be pleasing to God, as though God appointed you governor over their speech and gave you freedom of recklessness with your own. He was talking to you, Abrahamic practitioners. Y'all the mainest ones talking about what somebody else believes from the inside of your sect. And too many of y'all have never even met someone who's an actual practitioner of the belief systems you got so much to say about. Condemning other sects of a faith or other faiths and belief systems from the outside is unwise and spiritually irresponsible. People are out here proudly spewing unfiltered stupidity about an idea of a belief system that they know nothing about. You haven't met a practitioner, haven't met a leader in that community, haven't stepped into a space where this faith is practiced, but have an hour-long discussion, locked and loaded and ready to wet up the block about something they know nothing or the very least about. You barely know or understand your own faith and holy book, and you over here challenging someone else's. If you're going to talk about it, especially if you're going to talk crazy, talk from your personal spiritual experience. Talk from your personal physical experience. But let your uninformed, prideful ego sit this one out. And remember, we are only highlighting this with respect to you speaking or judging out of ignorance. If it doesn't apply, let it go by. If your only contention is that you serve the one and true living God and you ain't worried about what nobody else doing because you are practicing the art of minding your business, continue to stand on your beliefs, beloved. I keep standing on my standard. That's what we affirmed. But while you're standing on your standard, don't be a bully. And while you're dealing with someone who was loud and opinionated and irreverent and feels like they're just waving the banner of their belief and not in fact bullying, speak up for yourself, friend. Katt said, if you don't say anything, these dudes will run over you. If you don't stand up for yourself, there's really nothing they won't do. Don't be a victimizer, but don't allow yourself to be victimized. Let's stay in this same vein of religion and religious tenet just for a little while longer. Katt said, when I do something good, I'm really not doing it for the gram. I'm doing it because it's good to do. Fast forward a little bit, he says, if you was actually just trying to help people, you would. That's how I pay my tithes. That's how I got in this position. I used to attend a church where at offering time, the pastor would say it's better to be seen giving than giving to be seen. All up and down the internet, you can find reference to it being better to have a blessed 90% of your income than a cursed 100% or 100% without the blessing. Katt said if he comes to your city and gets paid 100 racks, he's giving 10 grand to the homeless community in your city. You go to church every week with the same stink attitude when it's time to give offering and tithes, talking about, I ain't giving 10% of my hard-earned money. And let me cut you off right there, because half of y'all ain't did a stitch of hard work all week. You spent 50% of your workday scrolling through social media, but still got paid for 100% of the time you were there. Knock it off. But if we are only going to talk about you not wanting to give 10% of your earnings to the house where you worship because you believe it's being misused to finance the grandeur of the lifestyle of the leader of said house, where are you putting your tithes? Or are you just skipping that part of scripture? Are you taking that 10% and giving to God's people anywhere? There are community organizations and foundations. If you're not giving cash, you can volunteer at a soup kitchen or any place where someone less fortunate could benefit from anything you have to offer. Since the head of your church is a thief or living too good off your hard-earned money, where have you reallocated your tithe? He's talking to you, Christian. I'm not a Christian. I'm spiritual, but you're not exempt. Because selfless giving is universal law. So again, I say, where have you directed your giving? We're praying, we're fasting, we're affirming, we're manifesting, we're crying out, we're wailing at the wall, we're journaling. But when it comes time to come off that dollar, all of a sudden we get deaf, dumb, and blind. Obedience over sacrifice, beloved. He was asked why he adopted 7 kids. He said, if there was a God, what would he think about you if you did that? Let's say, for example, that God is real and he be looking at what you do. What would he say if you did that? My whole life, I want to be God's friend. I got exactly what I was trying to get. I haven't been shorted in any way. He tied it all together, taking us back to where he had to leave his little brothers behind. But once he got in position, it came full circle and he paid it forward. This is a passion point. This is the same thing with stories of people getting unexpected money out of nowhere, and he's the anonymous benefactor. Countless people attesting to this and saying 100% that was Katt, and he's not looking for any credit or any glory, just doing it off the strength of knowing what it's like to be in that position and saying to himself, let me do something about that. Paying for Melba Moore's star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. She was next in line and would have been skipped over. When you look beyond the words or how something appears and you look at the underlying principle, you can see how the same thing is happening over and over again. It's just presenting differently. She was next in line and about to get passed over, but not because she didn't deserve or hadn't earned the accolade. Not because she hadn't paid her dues during the course of her career. Has there ever been a time when you were next and you got passed over on a technicality? I was next in line for an award. At the award ceremony, we all thought this. We believed this. We knew this. As the presenter began speaking of the person who was getting the award, people are saying my name, they're smiling at me, they're nudging me, and they're not listening to what the presenter is saying. But I'm listening, and I'm saying, it's not me. It's not me, guys. And when the other person's name was called, everyone was stunned. Now, I knew why they got it. It didn't stop me from feeling steamrolled. So in a position to ensure that someone gets what they've worked hard for, what they deserve, even if I can only do it on a small scale, on whatever scale I can do it, I'm going to do it. If someone else is next and they can't get what they have worked so hard for on a technicality and you're next after them, you going to run and make sure you get yours first and then come back for them? Or you going to take the initiative to make sure someone deserving gets what they deserve at the time they deserve it? When asked what he's teaching his kids, he said he taught them the things that can't be bought, like integrity. Trying to live life in a way that you could be proud of if you had to look back on it. And he stated that while acknowledging that he didn't do so great at leading by example, but he was still trying to instill it. He taught them accountability and responsibility. Some of y'all out here teaching your kids it's okay to disrespect their teachers. Some of y'all are teaching them they don't have to respect anyone but you. But who benefits from that? We don't, because we have to deal with your homegrown terrorist. They don't, because their refusal to acknowledge any authority other than yours may very probably cause them to end up as a mural or one of them RIP shirts. Mom, you're irresponsible about who's coming in and out of your home, and by default, the kids' lives. You make excuses as to why you shouldn't have to accept blame for what someone else did. But this thing doesn't get done if you don't let these people in your house. Dad, you're gambling and drinking the bill money away and then blaming everybody else for basic usage, talking about the bill too high. Well, it's not high at all if you didn't lose the light bill money. You're cheating and lying about it. You're hurt because you're being cheated on and lied to, so you too are cheating and lying. You spew hate and ignorance every time you open up your mouth. And maybe it's not that extreme. Maybe it's just that every time you feel frustrated, you lash out and say awful, hurtful things. Whatever it is, the kids are taking it all in. Having been reminded of this, let me repeat the question. What are you teaching your kids? Toxic people are trying to get things. They're not being toxic for no reason. They are gaining something out of how they operate. Soon as you find that out, you'll be able to cut off what they getting and they will leave. Are you one of those people that takes pride in your toxic behaviors? What you trying to get, beloved? Attention? Do you even know? You, friend, how much longer are you going to feed that toxicity? Long enough to complain and be the victim, or are you going to cut it short? He said he's never been robbed because he's not pretending to be something he's not. And not only do I not judge what you're doing, I'm not trying to be involved. That's the difference. That's where the respect comes from. Being robbed isn't limited to having someone run down on you at gun or knife point. Is there anything that's been stolen from you or is currently being taken from you consistently? That's not the perspective Katt was speaking from, but definitely a perspective to be considered, even just referring back to toxic people. But he said he's not pretending to be something he's not. Are you? Are you pretending to be a party to something you have no real understanding of? What was the theme for this whole interview? The truth shall prevail. If you're pretending to be someone you're not in the age of truth, someone or something is coming to snatch off that costume and that mask. Are you ready to be yourself yet? Or are you having too much fun playing this character? And to the point of not judging or getting involved, minding your business is still free, passionates. A lot of y'all like to mind your business at the wrong time and stand by and let people get killed. But you more mixy than a KitchenAid when it comes to gossip. He was asked his favorite city and he said, the next one. That's the real beauty of travel. That's why most people don't have the empathy and sympathy that they need to have for other people. It's because they haven't seen other people. You still trying to stay married to your block? Or you ready to branch out yet and see why those people that irk you so much do the things they do? Why they build their communities the way they do? Why they dress the way they do? Why they nasty and unsanitary by our standards? Or you just going to keep sitting on your couch or your porch, talking and complaining and missing out on what else the world has to offer, including and especially overstanding. He said, whether you like me or you don't, if you take this from me, you will be a better person. If you decided today that you're going to live every day like it's your last for real, which means have a conversation with yourself every night. Okay, that was it. May not be no more after that. And really count yourself every day like this could have been it. If you can do that, it'll change your life. You'll really start living your life and making decisions like this all you got. Just this one day. But you could be a winner on this day. It's just work ethic. You living like today is your last and capitalizing on every second and every opportunity? Or you going to do that thing on a tomorrow that's not promised? We talked about how he talked about his father and the emotional maturity to speak of him in high regard. Shannon asked him about his friendship with Suge Knight. Shannon was amazed that Katt could be loyal to persons with a sordid or colorful past. Katt said, when somebody comes to me, male or female, it is in the auspices that this is what I did, this is what I used to do, this ain't what I want to do no more, and I want to do something else, and I'd like it to go a different way. That's what I offer. So if you come to me under those auspices, then my loyalty is lifelong. Are you ready to extend that kind of grace? And we talked about this a lot in season 2. I think we did like 3 or 4 episodes around this. And you know why it's worth revisiting? Because someone right now is saying, I'm petty and proud, and I'm not giving grace to nobody. They need to sit and stew in what they did. But this is the age of truth, right? Katt said this is the year of truth, and everybody hopped right on that bandwagon. So if you wronged someone intentionally or unintentionally, and you were earnestly seeking redemption because you really want to do better, that same grace should be withheld from you, right? Because we understand that we're in a universe of balance, and it's give and take. It's give to receive. It's your actions are a reflection of my actions. We understand this fully, right? So you don't deserve forgiveness or grace or a second chance or loyalty, right? Because that's what you're standing on, right? Same thing with Kanye. We judge him, we watch him, we laud him for being a genius on Tuesday and clown him for being Looney Tunes on Thursday. Katt said, I suspect that we're pretty awful people if we say that someone got a mental illness and then we watch what they do. If you say somebody got special needs, why would you be watching them and holding them accountable like everybody else? The next time Kanye goes off on a rant, you locking in and laughing? It says something about your character if you'll mock someone you believe needs help. And you might can't help them, but you don't have to make a mockery of them either. Katt was talking to you. Yeah, he said a few things about some comics and some better known names. But he spent most of this interview talking to and about you and me. And I'm just curious, who can put their hubris aside long enough to A, admit that, and B, do something about it? Who's willing to take the next step to do and be different? Who's thinking, let me stop being entertained by everyone else being exposed and let me correct me because there but for the grace go I. We've been here for a minute. I'm going to just drop a few passion points and then we're going to get out of here, okay? First, the truth will be revealed for all. No one is exempt. So instead of reveling in someone else being exposed, now's a great time for coming clean. Tell the truth before someone else tells it for you. The entirety of someone's character does not have to be defined by one action. Pay attention to what I said, because I said it doesn't have to be, not it shouldn't be. There are some acts that are truly heinous and malicious, and they don't deserve grace from us. And even then, we can speak truth to power without slandering the individual. Knowing words and casually throwing them into sentences is how the average person speaks. Being intentional with word choice and placement makes you an effective and, dare I say, elite communicator. You did sign up for this. You didn't realize this was what you were signing up for, but you did indeed sign up for this. The nonsense at the job, the faulty equipment, the gossip mongers, and the backstabbers, they came with the job. They were already in place. So that's not what you wanted to deal with when you got here, especially if this was the type of environment you were running away from in the first place. But you did sign up for this. Every part of your story is relevant to your story, and many parts of the interesting thing or things that happened at X time will serve you tenfold down the line. If you love it, learn it, study it, do as much as you can to perfect it or be able to exhibit it as best you can. Apply this to the people in your life as well. If you love them, learn them, study them so you can do and be your best with them. Stand on your standard and believe what resonates with you. But the best way to learn about something is from the inside, not speculation. Katt said, like in all business, in all sport, competition is a driving force. I don't require anybody to be better. This is twofold. One, I don't require you to be better than you are. only to not misrepresent yourself. That's the context in which the statement was delivered. 2, I don't require you for me to be better. In other words, you don't even have to be a factor for me to be better. You're not my motivation. With 12 comedy specials, why do I need to be in these conversations with these specialist people? If you are indeed doing the work speaks for itself. Now, it may not seem like it's yelling and screaming, but a whisper is still a noise. Why then would you need validation from people who are talking about the work? Do the work. The product is your receipt and your megaphone. When you get in position, you may not ever be able to pay the dollars, the cents, the grace, the love, the favor. You may not be able to pay it back, but you can always pay it forward. The easiest way to rid yourself of a parasite, stop feeding it. Finally, ask God for trampoline skin so things can bounce off you and you can bounce back from adversity. There were some other points that I didn't recap. If you missed them, go back and find them. I didn't come to preach at you, but I definitely came to make sure you took all of what you were supposed to take from it. In a reckoning, an account is being settled. You want to break even or come back in the black? We're not doing no housekeeping today. You want to invest your tithe or make an offering to this space? Links to Linktree, Zelle, PayPal, Podbean. They're in the description box below. Go forth. Be great. Be filled with bliss. Be armed and empowered with knowledge. Come back next week and let's look at some other things through a different lens and from another perspective. And all things be passionate. See you later.